presentation seating. Some note highlights on that is after I have previewed the property completely, what I would do is just start walking back toward the kitchen, say, Mrs. Jones, could you please get me a glass of water? I have hay fever awful bad, and my throat gets dry when I talk. I have never, folks, had a lady refuse me a glass of water. And you can do that same thing. Hey, Mr. Jones, while Mrs. Jones is doing that, could you please get all the papers on the house, particularly your loan information card that you send to the lender every month with your payment, and an envelope with the lender's address on it. Could you do that for me, please? Well, sure. Why not? So you've got him. Now you start taking control of how you want to seat people. While they're doing that, what we want to do is jump into the seat that we want to sit in. What I want you to do is go into the kitchen. Now there's a couple thoughts on should you do it in the living room or should you do it in the kitchen. If you try to do it in the kitchen and Mama has not cleaned up the table, she's got dishes stacked in the sink 2 miles high, don't do it in the kitchen. Then you would want to continue doing it in the living room area. I like to close in the kitchen area. Let's say this is a sample here of the walls of your kitchen area. Maybe over in this area here is your sink, your cabinets and stuff like that. And then here is your table, here's a back of a chair, here is a chair, here is a chair, and here is a chair. Say, as an example, 4 chairs around it. Now, we've just walked in, we've asked for a glass of water, we've asked Mr. Jones to get the papers on the house. And while they're doing that, if I had to, I would dive into this back seat. If I'm going to sit here, I want Mrs. Jones to sit here and Mr. Jones to sit here. That's the way I want to seat him. As an example, how I would take control of that, if I'm in my seat and Mr. Jones doesn't know his lines, he starts to sit in the chair right next to me. I say, Mr. Jones, would you please sit here that Mrs. Jones might see better? What's he going to say? Keep the old bat out of it? No. If you're in control, like you should be, he's going to oblige you. Then, if Mrs. Jones is coming back, if she's blowing her line, say, Mrs. Jones, could you please sit on this side that you could see better? Now, I'll tell you the reasoning behind why I like to be set up like this. Number one, what happens if you are in the wrong chair and you're sitting here and the husband or wife is over here, or if they're across the table from you, they're winking at one another, they're giving them little high signs and signals. If you're sitting here and they're sitting back in this area here someplace, and the kids come in to get something out of the refrigerator, go turn the TV on in the family room or whatever it might be, who's getting distracted? They are, unless you're in the right seat. So consequently, I think that you firmly need to get in this situation here with the client seated here. Now, what are they looking at? Isn't that what you want them to look at? After you have them seated, now I find that seating like this, it took me a while to get onto this because I was seating the husband next to me and the wife over here. Now, I don't know about you gals that are selling, but you guys, I'm sure of. I had a tendency, and I found out that the gals were thinking that I was leaving them out because it was kind of a one-way conversation between me and the husband. So by setting the husband across over here and her closer to me, I'd say, Mrs. Jones, would you please pass this to Bob? Would you pass this to him? Would you hand that back to me, please? What's happening? You're getting her involved. Now, I don't know about you folks, but I've found myself that it's the little lady about 70% of the time that makes a decision with who they're going to list with. And you know that's a shame, or that surprises me, because we all know that men are smarter than women. Huh? Because men still control 18% of the wealth in the country. Saved myself on that, didn't I, gals? Well, yeah, because if they were that smart, they would have that too. After we've seated, this is where I would ask permission to use a first name, and I'd say it like this. Mr. and Mrs. Jones, would you be offended if I were to use your first names? I have yet to have anybody say, yes, we would be offended, Mr. Butcher. I've just never had that happen. Have you? If you've got that bad a rapport, you better come back and start all over. As an example, let's say his name is Bob and Mary. I would start like this. I would take the cooperative service agreement off of the pad here like this, and I would be kind of jesting to Bob in this manner. I'd say, Bob, I've gathered information about the property. Would you mind looking this over and verifying my accuracy, please? Now if he responds, well, Roger, we haven't decided yet who we're going to list with, you say, oh, I'm aware of that, but you are interested in the best representation, aren't you? You are interested in getting the most money, aren't you? I have a couple people that have agreed to come up with me and do a little role play to give you an idea of the listing presentation. Now let me set the scene here just a little bit for you before we do begin. Let's say, for an example, this is Mr. and Mrs. Jones, and they're for sale by owners. Let's say they're about the average for sale by owner. I've contacted them maybe a few days before, and now we have an appointment for a presentation. Not an appointment for a listing, but an appointment for a presentation. Let's say, for an example, now we've already previewed the home with the owners. We've built our rapport. We've went through our committing, non-rejection question areas. We've made a lot of notes about the property. We've seated them and so forth. We're going to do the presentation now. We've went through all of our homework. Now let me point out one thing, folks. I'm going to stand the book up so that you can see out there what page I'm on. If I was in an actual presentation, I would have the book laying flat on the table. And the reason being is, if I'm on a presentation and this book is between us, number one, I think it cuts down the opportunity for those vibrations to come back and forth to one another. And then again, it makes it difficult for me to see. Now, one thing I would do is to have a ballpoint pen that I would kind of use as a little pointer. As an example now, Conrad and Sharon, since you folks have been attempting to sell your home yourselves, I'd like to show you the saga of the for sale by owner. Does this look familiar?
Oh, yeah.
You've probably had a lot of other real estate people over knocking on your doors. Do you know what their objective is?
To get a listing.
To get a listing. Do you know what my objective is today?
To get a listing.
No. My objective is to help you to the bank with the most money possible, and that's your objective too, isn't it?
That sounds good.
The years I've been in the business, I find that the reasons for the for sale by owner is, number one, to save the commission. Next, some people are afraid of salespeople. Others are confident that they can sell without professional help. Many people are uncertain of the mechanics of doing business with an agent. Many people's attitudes are that we're going to try ourselves for a while and then turn it over to a realtor if we're not successful. And then many people feel that we have to have X number of dollars out of this property and we can't afford to pay a brokerage. They all sounded very interested and said they'd come by early to see the house. Have you had people call and not show up?
I canceled a doctor's appointment yesterday to be here.
So that's an inconvenience, isn't it?
Yeah.
How do you like negotiating with strangers? Let's say, for an example, you're asking one price and a prospective buyer may be offering another one. Negotiations could get a little sticky, couldn't it?
It does, yeah.
Were you aware that your family could be in danger opening your door to strangers?
Yeah, the other day I read in the paper where some things like that are going on and got a little concerned about it.
That could certainly be a hazard, couldn't it?
Especially when you're away in the evening.
Yeah, right.
I'd like to tell you here the story about the homeowner versus XYZ Realty. Let's say, for an example, this is your house here on the street that we're on, San Jose Boulevard, and this is a house, say, a few blocks away that's professionally being marketed by XYZ Realty. Maybe this weekend, XYZ Realty would run an ad in the paper, and a young couple may call in, and the salesman on duty then would talk with the individual calling in, invite them into the office, pre-qualify them, and then bring them out and show them this property. And then what we find is that rather than making a final decision right at that time, that sometimes the client will come back out and drive the area just to see what the rest of the neighborhood is like by himself. So if he were to drive down your street here and see your for sale sign in the front lawn, what reason do you think he could have for wanting to call you?
We'd hope it'd be cheaper.
To save money?
Sure.
That's right. Bargain price. You see, first of all, he'll subtract the amount of the brokerage fee, and then he'll subtract at least another $1,000 from the remaining asking price, because we all know you never offer a for sale by owner full asking price, don't we?
Right.
It's that for sale by owner we looked at, Mr. What's his name. He wants to know if we thought it over. I think I can get him down another $1,000 or so. You see, buyer follow-up is close to impossible, isn't it?
Hard to pin him down.
The for sale by owner myth. Perhaps you folks got the idea of selling your home yourselves by hearing somebody else boasting about how they save the commission. But you see, the truth is that most owners net less than what a realtor would have netted for them. And it is your net amount of money that you take to the bank of most importance, isn't it?
Very true.
Now I'm going to do, folks, what I call my visual aid starter. You know, Conrad and Sharon, the more years I'm in the real estate business, the more I find that sellers like yourselves are just looking for a couple of basic things in the real estate representative, and that is someone they like and trust and someone they feel has the knowledge and experience to get the job done. Isn't this about the way you feel?
That's the way I feel.
How they say no? How they say no? The years I've been in the business, I find that sellers have questions about financing, appraisals, points, legal, advertising, escrow, multiple listing, and I hope today to answer these questions for you with knowledge, experience, and professionalism.
Does that mean I have to know all those things if I'm going to sell the house by myself?
Do you know all those things?
No.
It would be nice if I did, wouldn't it?
Right, right.
Did you have any idea of the experience and background you'd like for your representative to have?
No, I haven't given too much thought.
I'd like to show you some of my background. This is a certificate that I received from the Academy of Real Estate for Real Estate Practice. Here's another one from the Lumlow School of Real Estate for Real Estate Economics. Another one for Property Management. Another one for Legal Aspects. Please keep in mind that these are all college-level courses. Here's another one from Anthony Schools. Another one for Real Estate Financing. Another one for Real Estate Appraisal. Here's a certificate from the Sacramento Board of Realtors. Last year I was also fortunate enough to be on the Education Committee. Have you heard of the Dale Carnegie Sales Course?
Oh, yes, yeah.
I'm also an honor graduate of that course. Isn't this the type of education you'd like your representative to have?
Oh, yes. Seems very
Sounds
good.
very good.
The years I've been in the business, I've been very fortunate to serve some fine people like yourselves. Here are just a few of the testimonial letters that I've received from my past clients. I'd like for you to take a look at them.
That's first week.
Yeah, how about that?
Now, folks, you'll notice now in my testimonial letters that I have one power phrase or one particular sentence in each letter highlighted with a heavy felt-tip yellow pen. And what you'll find is that normally 95% of the time, the client will read the entire letter. But that small percentage that does not read the entire letter will at least read that power phrase. This client here said the sale of their home was a pleasant experience. And you would like the sale of your home to be a pleasant experience, wouldn't you?
You better believe it.
How they say no? Have you heard of multiple listing?
Oh, yes, yeah.
Sure.
See how I asked that? Either yes or no. Let me explain it further. Let's say, for an example, this is your house and me as your realtor. On our cooperative service agreement, I'll be taking the information about your property back to our office. My secretary will type it up and distribute it to our sales force, and then it's sent downtown to the main office of the local board of realtors, giving you a total representation of over 368 other real estate offices in the area with over 2,600 salespeople, all licensed by the state and working for you. And this is just a sample here of how your property might appear in the multiple listing book.
Does that mean that all these salespeople are going to work on our home?
That would give us more exposure to sell it quicker, wouldn't it?
Very good, isn't it?
That's a lot easier than our ad.
Yeah, right.
You've probably asked, how long will it take to sell? There are 4 things that make a property sell, and that's location, price, terms, and condition. You've probably wondered, what is your property worth? Remember when you were the buyer, you wanted to get the most house for the money, didn't you?
Right.
And now that we're selling, we want to get you the most money for your house, don't we? You see, this is what makes market value. Your property is worth what buyers are willing to pay, isn't it?
Very good.
So in order to get that top figure, we need to base our asking price on accurate information. And how do I get this accurate information? I check files in our offices. I call other title companies, other escrow companies. I call other real estate offices. I even check with the recorder's office. And I even drive the area checking for properties that are for sale now and properties that have recently sold. And having updated, accurate information would again help us get the top dollar, wouldn't it?
Right.
These are just a few pictures here of properties that I've sold. This is what I refer to as my fast house. I listed, serviced, and sold this property in 3.5 hours. You've probably seen our ads in the newspaper, haven't you?
Oh, yes.
You see, our firm believes in effective advertising. Now, you notice, people, that I did not promise advertising. All buyers are pre-qualified before seeing your home. When I represent a buyer, I'll have his name, address, employer, and I'll know pretty well that he's financially capable of purchasing a home and looking for a home in this price range. And again, this would be a convenience to you, wouldn't it?
Very good. Very good.
And your home can be shown by appointment only. When I have this client, let's say, for an example, a buyer may drive by your property, see my sign in the front lawn. Rather than bothering you, he may not even be qualified. He would call me. I would pre-qualify him like this. and then call you to make an appointment to show the property. And again, that would be a convenience, wouldn't it?
Oh, yes.
The average buyer looks at about 12 homes. Do you recall what he may be looking for?
Location,
Remember, that's right. We talked
Price.
about it right back here. Location, price,
Condition.
terms, and condition. Have you considered how much deposit we should take?
Yeah, I often wonder how much actually deposit should take on a thing.
I recommend a lovely home like yours that we take it off the market for no less than a $1,000 deposit. This would be just one more safeguard to assure a successful sale, wouldn't it?
Right.
And this is a copy here of our deposit receipt. Let's say placing the property with me, should the buyer be represented by another company, that agent will not come to you directly with a deposit receipt that you're unfamiliar with, trying to get you to accept something that you do not know how to interpret. He'll submit the deposit receipt to me. I will analyze it and submit it to you. And when I submit the deposit receipt to you, I'll also have worked up a seller's worksheet. And then in this, I will show you the dollars and cents and the approximate amount of dollars that you're going to net from the sale of the property. And then when we go to the title company, the escrow officer there will work up a similar statement like this and itemize it, show you the exact amount of money that you'll be taking to the bank. And a trip to the bank's what it's all about, isn't it?
That's the truth.
You see, our goal is to put you in this picture. Your property sold, your check in your hand, and on your way to your bank. And you would like to be in that picture, wouldn't you?
Sure would.
looks real good.
You're right.
How do they say no? You tell me, how do they say no? Were you aware that I have a 24-hour mobile office at your disposal?
Oh, I didn't realize that.
In my trunk, I carry a portable box like this, and unfolding this, I carry for sale signs, sold signs, double-bitted axe, sledgehammer, 3-in-1 oil, graphite, cinnamon powder, level, lock boxes, 2 measuring tapes, 2 flashlights, 2 Polaroid cameras, hammer, nails, furniture polish, Lysol spray, umbrella, raincoat, rain hat, rain booties. Pretty well prepared to sell your property, wouldn't you say?
For all conditions.
What's the hammer and the axe for?
That's how he gets his clients.
Oh,
That's for the difficult clients.
we better be easy then.
You see, when you let me and Professionals Unlimited go to work for you, you get a full-time professional real estate salesman with years of experience. Your home will be in multiple listing. All buyers will be pre-qualified. Your home will be shown by appointment only. We'll have a substantial deposit with the offer to purchase. We'll have the seller's worksheet showing you how much you net, and I will arrange the financing for the new buyer and oversee all the paperwork. I think you can see that with our program, we can save you time, be of more convenience to you, and net you the most money, can't you?
Boy, that means that we don't have to hang around the house all the time, do we?
That would be a convenience, wouldn't it?
Oh, very much so. Right?
Yeah.
The most money is the best part.
Would you like that? But
Do you have any questions about the program that we've outlined to sell your property?
No, sounds very good. When can you start selling it?
Okay, thank you. Give them a hand. They were real good. What do you think, folks? Very good. Okay. Thank you. You know, I'm kind of proud of these materials. These were used to win in the International Listing Presentation Contest, the first part of January of this year. So I hope that you'll become as familiar. I hope that you'll become to respect and appreciate the artwork in here, which now represents close to $20,000 in artwork and investment to produce these materials. Those pages are like gold. If you'll learn to use this presentation with some other things that I'm going to be showing you here today, this material will make you more money than if those pages were made of solid sheet gold, I assure you. Now, sometimes some questions come up about, well, what if I'm new in the business? Do I use the same type of approach the more years I'm in the business? And I say, yes. Use the dialogue exactly as I was showing you here. Keep in mind now that the words I was using for you new people, I was not saying that I've been in the business for years. I'm saying the more years I'm in the business. See, you could have gotten your license yesterday and said that, couldn't you? So you see, a lot of the objections that people are out there giving you now may be asking you, how long have you been in the business? And those of you that are new are probably getting that sometimes. Some of you that have been in the business for a while, people may question too. But if you'll do this visual aid presentation the way I show you here with the dialogue and as effective as I've done it here, I guarantee you that those objections that you've been getting in the past, people saying, well, we've got a friend and we really want to think it over, first one thing and another, you're going to have, just with this presentation by itself, probably a reduction of at least 70% of the problems that you've been having up to now. Let's talk for just a moment now about why the visual aid presentation is so powerful. Let's talk first of all, though, about why so few people use a visual aid presentation book. Number one, a lot of people feel that it's a canned talk. Now, I do not refer to it as a canned talk. I do believe that it's a prepared talk. I know there's some sales trainers that say that a presentation has to be word for word every time, and I do not believe that. You're going to find, because of the difference of the people that you're going to be doing your presentation to, that one client will move a little bit differently. They may come up with a question or something during your presentation, and if they do, I recommend that you say, I'm glad you brought that up. I'll cover that in a later portion of the presentation. Let me write it down, and then you make a little note on it. If it's in your presentation, cover it. If it seems to be just a frivolous question or something, you may want to bypass it, you may want to acknowledge it, or you may even want to explain it further or to overcome it. Keep in mind now that the basis of my presentation, this is one reason why it's so effective, is that most presentations that I have seen lean heavily upon the plea to list with me or on the exclusive listing. These are the advantages of listing on the exclusive listing. See, the connotation is, this is what we do to sell your property. This is what we do to net you the most money. You show me a client in this area or in this state that their true objective is to list their property, and I don't think you'll ever do it. And their true objective is what? To sell the property and to net the most money possible. That is their final objective, and that's the connotation of this book and my presentation. I don't know what's in this thing that works. You could ask me, and there's scientists that do not know, why a cow can eat green grass and give white milk. I don't know. I really don't care. A sheep can eat the same grass and produce wool. I don't know how it happens. I really don't care. The only thing I know is that I like wool sweaters and wool slacks. I like milk. I don't know what's really in this that makes it work. The only thing I know is that if you start changing it, don't expect it to work. We've proven that with thousands of students across the country. And I would recommend highly that you retain the same order and very close to the same dialogue, just so that you know the basic concepts. But then if you want to change your dialogue, because you may not use the word folks, you may feel uncomfortable with that. I notice when you take people out of West Virginia, they start picking up an accent. We get them back there for 2 weeks and we got them talking right. So you may feel uncomfortable using the same words that I use, but in these 2 days, I'd like for you to pretty well remember the dialogue as we use it. And then when you get out there on the front line, then adapt it to the best way that you speak and your own ideas at that time. If you find a way that you can make the book work better, by gosh, let me know. If you're having fantastic results in one little area over another or something, let me know. That's how we keep the materials updated. That's one thing that I'm dedicated to, is keeping the materials updated and the best there is in the country. We're selling this book now in every state in the country. It's not just working. I know sometimes if I don't mention it, at break or at the end of the 2 days, people might walk out and they'll say, well, that will work for him because he's got charisma, he's got this, he's got that, or that will work maybe in Sacramento or Denver, Colorado, but we're in a different market here. No, it will work here, it will work in Pasadena, it will work any place you use it. Now, that's one point I'd like to make. Let me make another point. It will not work in Denver, in Pasadena, in San Jose, if what? If you don't use it. This is a tool, that's all. It's not a miracle, it's a tool. And if you don't use it, don't expect it to work. It's that simple.